everyone. My name is Danish Bhatti. I'm a movement disorders neurologist at University of Nebraska Medical Center. I am the chair of APPNA Merit for 2021, along with my co-chairs and my committee chairs. We have started this series of webinars to address or basically raise awareness about healthcare research and innovation landscape in Pakistan. This is a joint project between APPNA Merit and APPNA RISA Committee, which is the Research, Education and Scientific Affairs Committee. This is a program which is approved by APPNA for CME from ACCME for AMA Category 1 CME credits and also CNE credits for someone who needs it. The credits are provided by APPNA in partnership with AMEDCO, our third-party vendors, and the cost of CME is graciously donated as educational grant by APPNA RISA Committee. So we're very thankful for that. We will be issuing CME credits once every quarter after every 12 webinars, and you're joining in through your own link to Zoom would serve as your attendance, and we will tally all the attendances and then reach out to you for your CME credits at the end of the quarter. We're also publishing some of the findings from these webinars as a new newsletter that we started. It's called 5-Minute Brief. This 5-minute brief is being sent out through APPNA Merit and APPNA main email blast chain through all the memberships in Pakistan and in North America. And those I find very helpful, very useful tips. And I want to again recognize and thank Dr. Pashmeen Lakhani for helping us make some of those notes. The main purpose of these webinars is to introduce what's going on in Pakistan, introduce with the key players on the academic side, on the commercial side, to be able to promote healthcare research and innovation in Pakistan. This is not an endorsement of any one single entity, but of the whole movement of healthcare research and innovation in Pakistan. We do endorse that wonderful growth in Pakistan that's going on. I'm really thankful to all the panelists and all the attendees. We have some luminaries in our attendees who regularly attend our session, and I'm really proud of that and really thankful for that. That they take the time out to attend these webinars, and I hope they find these useful. We try to promote collaboration and network. So if you want to reach out to someone with any question or idea, please let us know. Our single easy email address is apnamerit@gmail.com. Reach out to us for questions, concerns, networking, collaboration, suggestions for speakers, suggestions for panelists. You can nominate yourself. We have a very open door policy. Anybody can come in. We're not very restrictive, and we really want to help connect everyone with each other. So with that summary, let me first start by inviting our speaker for today for our today's topic. And then after his presentation, we will invite our worthy panelist that we're really excited to have. And you can introduce yourself in the chat box, and you can leave us questions in Q&A box. We'll try to pick up questions from the chat box, but sometimes they get drowned by other messages that are going on. So Q&A will be the easiest place to pick up those questions for us. So let me start with the topic for today. We have a very wonderful speaker to talk about conducting clinical trials in Pakistan, especially multi-center clinical trials, which is a challenging topic and something still unique for Pakistan and a new concept. So our speaker for today is Dr. Amanullah Khan. Dr. Khan is a general manager for IQVIA Pakistan. IQVIA is an international organization which has presence in many different countries, including US, and I do some trials with IQVIA in US here in North America for Parkinson's. And so I know they're very reputable multinational organizations and are often used by universities across the North America and the world for conducting multi-center trials, even if they are academic centers-led trials. IQVIA is just conducting those trials. So Dr. Khan has more than 30 years of experience. He previously, IQVIA was named as IMS Health Pakistan, based in Karachi. He has been managing the marketing activities for IQVIA as client services manager before joining. And then he has actually worked as an active medical practitioner for 5 years after doing his medical school. And he also holds an MBA degree. So this is a wonderful combination of backgrounds. And we are looking forward to hearing from him his experience of developing multi-center clinical trials in Pakistan. Let me hand it over to you, Dr. Amanullah Khan, if you want to add anything else for your introduction, and then you can go ahead and share your screen. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Danish. I appreciate your kind words. And yes, IQVIA in Pakistan has been there for so many years, more than 40 years. I've been with the company for 30 years. But in terms of the clinical trial business, we are a new entrant into Pakistan. We entered only about 2-3 years back. So today, I'm sure I will, for everyone's information, I would switch on my video because it may interfere with the audio. The main purpose is to show you all the slides and to hopefully to hear what we are doing and what Pakistan can do. In fact, what Pakistan can do is what I would stress upon, and what is the current situation in the country and how things have changed over the last few years, making it more conducive for clinical trials, especially for the multi-center clinical trials. So I will switch off my video. Okay, and I hope when we have questions in the end, we will be able to answer anything that anyone has in between my presentation. I will definitely look towards my panel members to probably answer some of the questions. Okay, today we'll talk about...
Do you mind sharing your screen again, Dr. Khan?
Just a minute. Just a minute.
A reminder for everyone, please go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat box. Write where you're from and leave your email address if you want to be reconnected. And feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes.
Right. So today we'll talk about the clinical trials in Pakistan. I mean, my main focus would be that what different companies they require for a multi-center clinical trial in a country. Do we offer those requirements? Where we are with these? How basically things have changed, as I said, in Pakistan over the years. We'll talk about the current infrastructure in the country, the regulators, how helpful they have been. Similarly, we'll talk about the disease profile in the country, whether it's going to help our cause. So there are lots of things that we'll try to cover. Although I would not try to highlight especially the role of IQVIA, but definitely there are things which I would like to highlight that IQVIA is doing in Pakistan that are very important for clinical trial area. It's not projection of IQVIA. It is definitely a platform to project the country, the infrastructure, and what we can do together for bringing clinical trials into Pakistan. So definitely, as I said, I have no financial disclosure or conflict of interest with the presented material in this presentation. When we talk about from the angle of the sponsors, what they would like to see in a trial or in a multi-center trial, there are a number of things that are, I think, the most wanted criteria for any global company. Because if I talk about a trial which is a unicenter trial is basically mostly for phase 1 or maybe pre-phase 1 trial, that is mostly for safety purposes. But when the number of centers, they increase, and as we go into phase 2 and onwards, there we have seen that the multi-center trials are the, I would say, the rule of thumb. And what has happened in the last 2 or 3 years that we have been in clinical trials, the global trials coming into Pakistan, they are all multi-center trials. And our HCPs and our CTUs, they are changing. They have evolved into, I would say, one of those centers which are providing the quality services in the country. So when we talk about the needs of the of our sponsors, the first need is to assure standardization. Now, this is something that because when we talk about multi-center trials, there has to be standardization, there has to be uniformity, there has to be one, I would say, at times, I would probably, when we move forward in the presentation, you will see that things are now going live. There is a need for real data. And for this, they need the inclusion criteria has to be the same. If the trials are being done in, say, multiple countries or basically in different continents, the sponsor, they would like to see that the inclusion criteria for patients has to be the same. They are so strict in it that even at times we have seen that a slight difference because of race or because of geographical, I would say, changes, they probably are strict that no, they need the criteria of inclusion to be followed. And this is basically, especially areas like oncology, like hepatitis, etc. We have seen that this is a must, and unless the protocol that is made at the global level, because for these multi-center trials, the protocol that is developed is definitely a global one. And unless there is a change, a small, I would say, keeping the local needs, there can be a change, but overall, the protocol remains the same. Similarly, for standardization and uniformity, the treatment line has to be the same. There cannot be any difference in the treatment line that we all know, so I won't go into detail of it. Uniformity of procedure. One of the very important things that we also have in IQVIA are central laboratories. Whenever there are some investigations being done, or wherever there are the patients who have been recruited, they undergo any procedure. Again, the uniformity of procedure, not only in terms of the procedure, even the equipment in the labs, even the swab, even small things that are basically the requirement for the study, they are taking care very seriously. And the same lab equipment, even the scientists or the procedure, the manpower, they also need to be in a way standardized and have, I think, uniformity. This is again the same investigation all over the sites. It's the same thing that whenever there is the investigation, there has to be uniformity amongst all the countries. Then it comes to basically the data quality. When we talk about what is required for the above two, that is for standardization and for the uniformity of procedure, high quality of data becomes a must. And when we talk about data, in IQVIA, we have got a system by which all data for any clinical trial is captured through electronic medium. And it's called electronic data capture, EDC. And this is what is used globally. There is a uniformity because of that, and there is no difference between different countries. Even the data monitoring that we do is done, and even for all the other global CROs, I think data monitoring is a very important part of the whole clinical trial. And this monitoring is done through in IQVIA through trained monitors at different levels. And this is what basically is being done by in Pakistan also. We have got Pakistan, the local CRAs, they are monitoring the data from the sites, and it goes all the way to our centers in Singapore and then to the US. So there is which is all, again, there is a uniformity. There is a continuation of the standardization that we have for the quality. There is no discrepancy in the data. Again, collaboration of sites. Our study team that conducts, or any CRA or CROs who conduct clinical trials, the team are trained in the same manner. The learning, the know-how, the caliber is all the same. And this is what the sponsors, they require, that because in the past there has been problems with the sponsor of not having uniformity across sites, not having quality data. So these are now the must for any CRO who is doing any clinical trial at multiple sites level. So this is what I think is the, broadly I would say, the main need for any clinical trial that is done by any global CRO, or even by any other CRO who is looking after multiple sites. Now, after having seen what the sponsor requires, we talk about the checkpoints for multi-center studies. In terms of the checkpoints, the patient data has to be, directly connected with the CRO. In the past, the sites, they did not provide access completely to the sponsors, but now we have got different CROs who are working with their CRS connected very well with the centers and providing direct information to the sponsors. And this is done in IQVIA also through our different electronic data capture database that we provide to the sites, and the sites enter data, and everything that is entered is real data. The data being entered by the study coordinator is being monitored locally by our own CRO. At the same time, it's a real data check that is also being done by the CROs, the lead CROs who are sitting outside the country. And these lead CROs, they are in touch with the monitors also, who are basically trained monitors who are very specific in the areas. Like for one study, there can be monitors who are in cardiovascular area, who are in gastroenterology area, etc. And these monitors, they are providing they are having a check through the same electronic data capture. These monitors also have an access to it. They check on what's being done by the CRAs. So in a way, the CRAs, they cannot do any manipulation. Let me tell you that few years back, there were some cases where there were some question marks in some countries, not Pakistan, about some of the trials. And the sponsors, they were very particular about it, that there has to be very good quality control and quality checks at different levels. And this is what IQVIA has done. And other CROs in the world, they're also doing the same. They are providing multiple level, step-by-step quality control. And this is how it prevents any manipulation or any wrong data entry. I mean, anything which is entered, by mistake into the system, there are so many checks who can really take care of it. And these are all in place for any study that we do, whether it's phase 1, 2, or 3. Then we talk about this, the CRA performance and compliance are present in matrix. This is an important point. I mean, our senior people in the RDS team, they are also involved in quality checks. They are providing the feedback to their counterparts in other countries of what's happening and how things are shaping up. So it's a, I would say, real life data that is being shared amongst all the countries through different databases. I won't go into detail of it, but because we want to highlight what are the requirements of the sponsors. So these are what are happening in the clinical trial area in Pakistan. In the bottom part is that we are providing the monitoring, as I said, through our electronic data system. We are providing the study monitors. They are being monitored at the site level. The patient information is also being entered and being checked in so many different levels. Drug management. The drug management, this is a very important part. Previously, there were some allegations that there was probably, not in Pakistan again, but we know that the drug management, the drugs coming into a country where probably they were alleged to be broken or they were alleged to be not used or something. But we and other CROs also, they have a system by where every drug coming into the country through courier is entered into a database, which is again connected to the regional hubs. And this, any drug which, and the moment the drug is being prescribed to the patient, it's again real data that I would say information goes all the way to the sponsor and to our lead CROs who are sitting in other parts of the world. And so there's no chance that any drug, even each pack of the drug that is being prescribed, dispensed, is entered into the system and it is monitored. Even the empty pack of the drug, that is also basically entered into the system and make sure there is no manipulation or any wrong reporting. The investigator information, all the investigators, they are also clubbed together into one hub. They have got, they know what's happening globally. Any outlier, anything which has been reported as a, I would say, abnormal result of a trial, that is shared amongst all the investigators in the who are in the trial. Like if there is one investigator in Pakistan, he is connected to all the investigators globally, so that they come to know about anything which is abnormal that is reported in the trial, so that they are, and in a way, as a CRO, we have to make sure that all the investigators in the country, for example, in Pakistan, we have to make the investigator aware of this, because although it may come into his system, but he may at times not be very much there to take care of it or to understand it. So we have to play a part and provide the information to the investigator. Right, now we go to why Pakistan. Now this was basically the two slides I talked about, was what the sponsor look from they want from a CRO and how these are being taken care of. But why Pakistan? This slide is not a new one. I mean, this is an old one, not updated. And sorry for some of the figures, but the central idea is that Pakistan, being a country with a population of more than 220 million, becomes a very important, I would say, hub for anyone, one who wants to look for a trial, any sponsor is looking for a population that large. There was a myth that people in Pakistan, they are not educated, so they will not be able to sign the consent form, the IFC, and basically there were also some allegations that probably we will not find people over here sane enough to understand. But when we see 60% of population, they can sign and they can write, and they write their name. And this is what we have also been telling those companies who had some interest in Pakistan, that the population here, they will, it's a big chunk of population who are eligible for these trials in terms of literacy. Pakistan is not something like African country, or our GDP has been, I mean, if you forget the COVID period, Pakistan has been one country where the GDP has been positive. We have been growing, at times maybe lower single digit, at times 5 to 6%. And our per capita is also quite decent. So with this, I think we are a country where population is huge, where literacy is not bad, our GDP is growing. The third point is very important. I mean, there is still, the government of Pakistan has been very flexible. They have been very much pro clinical trial, I would say, that if any pharma company or distributor, anyone imports drugs or articles or say anything which is concerning the any supplies like lab equipment, etc., they are taxed heavily. But when it comes to the clinical trial area, and this is our experience also, there are not much duties, and it's very relaxed. So for CROs, I think, and for other stakeholders in this area, I think there is a lot of attraction. There is not much in terms of duties imposed. Then we talk about the high disease burden and large treatment naive population. Now, this is in the developed world. It's very difficult to find a patient in stage 3 of a disease without getting treatment. I mean, if you talk about US or Europe, the patients over there, they are treated with drugs from the very moment they are diagnosed. But in our country, it's poverty, it's ignorance, maybe some other factors also, that we can find patients who are treatment naive. I mean, we are doing one trial which is for a very advanced disease, and it was difficult to find naive patients, treatment naive patients in other countries, but we got plenty of those in Pakistan, which is unfortunate. But for the clinical trial area, I think because there is a need, there is a prerequisite, so this we again fulfill very easily. JCI, ISO, and DRAP. Now, this is thanks again to our regulators, our hospital management, our labs. Pakistan was also thought to be a geography where there is not much governance in terms of having audit or quality control of our healthcare facilities. But we have seen that now there are a number of hospitals, there are a number of establishments which are JCI and regulated and approved. DRAP has also been able to provide bioequivalence approval to a number of centers in Pakistan. Similarly, there are a number of healthcare facilities which are ISO certified. The GCP compliant sites and English speaking professionals. Now, this is again our doctors in Pakistan. They are very good in terms of English. They don't have any problem in speaking, whether it's investigator or anyone else. And this is, again, I think a plus point. Our sites are GCP compliant. And I think if you look back, maybe a few years back, there was not much in terms of GCP compliance, but now we have got plenty of facilities that are GCP compliant. The last point is up to 70% economical than US. If any sponsor selects Pakistan as a center for clinical trial, what they spend in the US compared to that, Pakistan is 70% economical. It's a rough estimate. It's a, I would say, a rough way of calculation. Even I was told by my team that compared to what they charge in India, I think in Pakistan, it's about 10-15% due to currency difference also. It's cheaper in Pakistan. This is a slide that we have taken from the clinicaltrial.gov website. This is the slide. And it shows that in the last 10 years, what has been the experience of Pakistan in different stages of clinical trials, in different phases of clinical trials. This may not be too representative because lots of studies, trials done, they are not entered over here. There are, I think, we know some of the trials that were done in the country and they have not been entered. So a rough idea is that it may be just 50-60% of what actually has been entered. But you can see that most of the trials that have been done are in phase 4. Nearly 63% are in phase 4. Phase 3 are 22%, then we have got phase 2 and very few in phase 1. Trials that are done mostly, if you look at infectious diseases, you have got typhoid and cancer. I do have a slide to show you why these are, I think, the main areas where clinical trials have been done in Pakistan. The reason why Pakistan becomes a big hub for a big potential for clinical trials, whether it's a multi-center one, it's because all these MNCs, which you see on this slide, they're all present in the country. Some of the MNCs, they have gone back, a few, but majority that you see globally, which are involved in clinical trials, companies like Roche, Sanofi, Novo Nordisk, GSK, now all these. And not only these, but if you see some other NGOs like Gavi, UNICEF, Melinda Gates Foundation, they are also present in Pakistan. So with the infrastructure that we have seen in the previous slides, with all the available resources, with all the requirements of the sponsors and multinationals can be met in the country, I think these are worth being approaching. And from IQVIA platform, we have approached others, CROs who are working in Pakistan. They have also approached these companies. Again, why Pakistan becomes with a population of 220 million and high disease burden and availability of very highly trained doctors and investigators. If you look at the disease profile, Pakistan becomes one country where diseases which have vanished in the world or become minimized, they are still rampant. Tuberculosis, malaria, dengue, typhoid, viral hepatitis, and there are lots of activities in the R&D area in these areas. So when we talk about these main diseases, we can always attract the sponsors with a large number of patient base in the country. Similarly, when we talk about the non-communicable diseases, A big cause of death in Pakistan is cardiovascular diseases. We do have a lifestyle where there are lots of, in the past, it used to be the West, the people, they used to have cardiovascular diseases more. But now with the lifestyle changing and all the chains coming into Pakistan also, we have seen the cardiovascular diseases, they have become very common in this country. And with 200,000 deaths in the country, I think if there is any trial in this area, that can be also one which we can promote. Even oncology, again, breast cancer, there are so many patients who are not aware of it. The patients who have not taken treatment, as I mentioned in the previous slide, treatment naive patients, if required, I think Pakistan becomes a hub for it. Unfortunately, again, number of females, they are not aware of it. There are lots of deaths because of it, and that stands out as one of the diseases. Two special diseases which are very specific in Pakistan, although they are seen other parts of the world also. Osteoporosis, we all know about the vitamin D level in Pakistan being very low. And we also know that, that the osteoporosis is hitting our elderly and our middle-aged, even the females after menopause. They are also exposed to osteoporosis everywhere. In Pakistan also it's happening the same. And there's a rough estimate that the Foundation of Osteoporosis warns that by 2050, some 30% of that country's population of 87.2 million will be over 50 years of age. So you can see when people are over 50 years, the osteoporosis becomes very common, especially females who are, when they are in the premenopausal age, they are not exposed to that much to the osteoporotic process. But once they achieve the menopausal age, they probably also have a higher chance of getting osteoporosis. Similarly, the last point is ophthalmology. In Pakistan, there are lots of cases of eye diseases that are being seen, and ocular conditions, rough estimate that it's about 12.6 million people who have got presbyopia, and they do have eye problems. Some photographs to show you how good our facilities in Pakistan are. You can see that the Aga Khan University Hospital, having 650-bedded hospital, and they have got already 9 clinical trials ongoing. Similarly, Shaukat Khanam Hospital, another big hospital having oncology as the main specialty, 195-bedded, 5 clinical trials ongoing. And the last one is the Shifa Hospital, not the last one. We do have Indus Hospital also below it. So these 4, but there are other hospitals also, I think, which are developing. We know there are some hospitals like Ziauddin Hospital. They are also trying to set up a CTU. Liaquat National Hospital in Pakistan, they are also looking into that area. So people, the hospitals, they are gearing up for these studies. And there are some more innovation. In the bottom part of the slide, you can see that they are very modern and very much, I would say, required facilities being developed in these hospitals. Like in Aga Khan, they have developed a pharmacy for the CTU, which is specific one, with control access, with temperature regulation. And I think this is what of a global, of a international standards. Similarly, the labs that we see are in different hospitals. Now, they have got a temperature range because we have done some of the clinical trials where there was a need to have a temperature as low as -60 or -50. And some of the CTUs where we did this, they have now a facility where they can have a refrigerated centrifuge. And that is again a new addition to our, I would say, clinical trial stakeholders. Even the blood collection area, when the patients, they come for blood collection, I think there is a chance of getting exposed when they go to the main lab or when they are taken to the main lab. But in CTUs, they are having their own dedicated blood collection area for such patients who are a part of the trial. So all these things, they were not there before. They are coming up. They have changed the horizon of the clinical trial, I would say, studies in Pakistan. I've got 5 more minutes. Okay, I think the last slide. This is to show you that these 4 courier services, which are globally responsible for carrying samples of clinical trial, they are also present in Pakistan. I mean, one of the objections of the sponsor used to be that, yes, you may have CTU, you may have very good investigators, even good laboratories, but if you don't have the facility of having a centralized lab, which we do have now. As I said, we do have a lab, especially from IQVIA platform. We have got 2 labs. One is in UK, one is in Singapore, and these are centralized labs. So all the specimen, all they are taken from these labs by these courier services, who are also present in Pakistan. And these courier services, they have a very specialized temperature regulation. I mean, liquid nitrogen, which is a very high-fi means of transportation. The bottom picture, the test tube 1, shows that the liquid nitrogen facility is also available. We have used it for transportation of our samples to other parts of the world. Similarly, the top one, the dry ice, top picture, this is also be a facility that these courier services, which are global courier services, they are present to help our clinical trial studies, multi-clinical studies in Pakistan. I think this is the end, the last one. Thank you so much. I have been right on time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Amanullah. That was a wonderful presentation. There were quite a few things that came to my mind, and I learned from listening to you from this wonderful summary. In a minute here, I'm going to invite our worthy panelists one by one to make their comments before we open for general discussion and questions. We already have quite a few questions lined up. But before I even do that, I think listening to you and having listened to previous presentations on clinical trials, I was thinking that there are certain myths, incorrect myths that exist about clinical research in Pakistan. And I was just outlining a few based on the data you presented, maybe to also share with our newsletter. And I also had the same mistake and error of believing those myths, myths such as that there are no ongoing clinical trials internationally in Pakistan, and you showed the data on what is already going on, that there are no good quality clinical sites for international research in Pakistan, and you already showed the data on all the wonderful sites we already have and the ones that are coming online. We had the myth that there are no trained clinical investigators to be quality PI for local sites in Pakistan, and then you're already showing that in that's not the case. And then definitely one of the strongest myth that all of us had was that it is difficult to participate in an international trial in Pakistan because there is no infrastructure. Where will you store the labs? Where would you ship them? How would you ship them? How you keep track of them? How would you collect centralized data for patients, case record forms and things like that? And then clearly that myth has also been broken. But I think that exists in many of us who have not been privy to these informations before. So let me start by, before I invite other people to join in on conversations and make their comments, please remember to raise your hand if you would like to be given the microphone to make any comments or raise your question. But while you think of those questions, let me first invite our first worthy panelist of the day. It gives me great pleasure and it's a great honor for us to have Dr. Abdul Rashid here join us as a panelist for this as a key leader in critical person in this whole idea of development of clinical research in Pakistan. Dr. Abdul Rashid is the chairman of Clinical Study Committee in Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, or DRAP, and definitely have been one of the visionary to help promote the clinical research in the last few years. So Dr. Abdul Rashid, please go ahead with your comments. Dr. Abdul Rashid, I think your microphone is not connected or.
Yeah. Are you listening to me? Thank you very much.
Yes, now I can hear you, Dr. Rashid. Go ahead.
It was a very, thank you very much, Danish Bhatti Sahab. A very, I must say that is an excellent presentation from Dr. Amanullah Khan. And also I'm thankful to Association of Physicians of Pakistan, descent of North America, that they have united Ministry of National Services, Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan for participation. Amanullah Khan has given a true picture regarding the opportunities of clinical trials in Pakistan. I must say he has elaborated very well, but I want to point out to two things that in Pakistan, for vaccines, we have approved one phase 1 clinical trials on IVIG, and they have completed on vaccines during COVID-19. And now, Dow University of Health Sciences, Dr. Sar is there. He's one of the main principal investigator in Dow University Health Sciences. They have started clinical trials on phase 2 and 3 with the collaboration of Pakistan Air Force. So we are hoping that after completion of this phase 2 and 3 clinical trials, this will be the first vaccine in Pakistan that will come into the market and will be provided at an economical rate. As far as phase 2 is concerned, we have 2-3 studies there. They are in a process of phase 2. Mostly the applications we have received in Pakistan is for phase 3 and very few applications in phase 4. So this is the overall situation in Pakistan. Up till today, being chairman of Clinical Study Committee, Division of Pharmacy Services, Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, we have approved 56 clinical sites throughout Pakistan. Among them, we have approved 28 clinical studies and totally 9 clinical contractor sales organizations, including IQVIA, and we have approved 4 viability bioequivalence centers and 2 are under process. So this is the figures which we have approved now from BRAF. As far as COVID-19 vaccines are concerned, we have allowed 4 vaccines to conduct clinical trials. One way that is Sinopharm phase 1 clinical studies, CanSino phase 3 clinical study on 18,000 subjects, and also there is 10 centers of Anhui province vaccines that is also in 3 phase studies on 10,000 subjects. There is one application for vaccine that applied by HJ Karachi University with the second center that is University of Health Sciences Lahore in the leadership of Professor Dr. Javed Akram, who is the Vice Chancellor of the university. We have received and approved 2 ventilators applications. One clinical trial is Combined Military Hospital Rawalpindi. Another clinical trial site for ventilator is Jinnah Hospitals. And it is good news for all the listeners, all Pakistani physicians, that in Jinnah Hospital Lahore, they have completed their clinical study validation and they have submitted their report, and we will consider for the approval of their study in next month. In next week, not in next month. As I already mentioned that phase 1 complete of IVIG has been completed, and phase 2/3 is under process on 215 subjects. Another good news is that in history of Pakistan, first time that one anti-epileptic drug for phase 1, and another drug which is also will be utilized as anti-Parkinson drug. They have submitted their applications. That is, Karachi University has submitted their application for phase 1 trial, and it is under process and evaluation process, and sent all those documents and application to the members of clinical study committee. The clinical study comprises of one Professor Javed Akram, one brigadier, one professor of pharmacy, and 3-4 clinicians, and also consists of the pharmacist. In Pakistan, Dr. Ubaidur Rahman, he knows better. We have given the emergency use authorization of 5 vaccines. Mostly in Pakistan, Sinopharm is being used in COVID-19. And up till now, we have received 4,112 adverse events. And among them, there are 6 serious adverse events collected from 572 vaccination centers throughout Pakistan. And as far after the investigation, these serious adverse events were not due to the vaccine, but it was coincidental adverse events. All those adverse event immunizations conducted during COVID vaccinations, they are collected through EPI, and they submit to us through the VG-Flow program, and we submit to the APPNA Monitoring Center through VG-Flow program. There was one question from Professor Dr. Azhar, who is from Dow University, that what is required for researchers' capacity for participating in multi-center trials. So I will suggest that the researchers should get training on ICH guidelines. They should get training on good clinical practices. Also, they should get the training on trial-related trainings. This is important. They must be trained on trial-related trainings and enhance their capacity. Also, they should need that there should be training on their safety reporting of the subjects. Another thing which is required for the research workers is they must be trained on pharmacovigilance. They must be trained how to collect the adverse event, how to collect the adverse event for immunization, how to investigate them, how to report to EPI, and how to report to the Pakistan National Pharmacovigilance Centers, and then we will submit to the APPNA Monitoring Center, Sweden. All the participants, they will happy to listen that DRAB, along with the cooperation of MHRA and also the WHO, we have developed med safety mobile application in which a 220 million population, which is 6th populous country of the world, then they can upload the diverse event of COVID vaccines or any therapeutic goods through Android and the iPhone's applications, and by sitting in their home, they can submit their adverse events of any allopathic medicine, veterinary medicine, medicated cosmetics, medical devices, blood and blood products, or any tape, homeopathic nutraceuticals, and any homeopathic medicines adverse events they can submit from their home, and by that mobile application we send to the APPNA Monitoring Center, Sweden. So this is all from my side. If any participant have any questions about clinical trials in Pakistan, they can question to me. I will happy to answer. But I tell you one of the good news that if, as Dr. Amanullah said, that Pakistan has the great potential for conducting international clinical trials. I tell you that if clinical study is going to be conducted in America or in Brazil, then third country is Pakistan, that we have approved clinical study. And if 5 countries of the European Commission, they are conducting clinical trials, then Pakistan is the 6th country which is also contributing in that study. So this is a great honor for us that Pakistan now is within a short period of 1.5 years, we are detecting not only in, I must say in Urdu that it is not in crore but in billion Pakistani rupees. The foreign investment is coming to Pakistan, and this is a great honor for us that Pakistan is competing with India, and they have won the COVID vaccine trials. I will appreciate the Aga Khan University, Saeed Hamid, that they have won the one clinical trials, international clinical trials from America, and India lose that clinical and Aga Khan University, they have gained the clinical study. So this is a great honor for us. Now, Pakistan is one of the country which is a great potential for multi-center clinical trials. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul Rashid. Very positive and encouraging remarks. I am really glad to hear that. And it seems like a lot of progress is going on behind the scene. And I really appreciate and commend you for that. I have a lot of questions in my mind. I know many people also have questions in their mind. But before I go on towards questions, let me invite our second panelist for today for his brief remarks before we start any Q&A. So Syed Munawar Ali is the head of clinical operations, RDS IQVIA Pakistan. So Munawar Saab, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, everyone, especially Dr. Saab. He came with all the good news. This is actually good for all the CRO business in Pakistan. As per the Dr. Aman's presentations, like we have so many myths again Pakistan that we do not have the established centers, even though the side staffs are not capable to speak in English or the patients cannot able to sign the forms. So now we have broken the myth, and we feel lucky that we are working in the country where the DRAP is supporting us. There are some other local CROs; those are working very well just to promote Pakistan in global level. So whenever we got any like query regarding any multi-center studies, even though like we are trying to bring international studies, those are competing in developed country in Europe and America and Canada. So we are trying to bring here all the developed countries trial here in Pakistan. So whenever the sponsor like need information, they just ask like how many studies are going in the Pakistan, and how your DRAP or Ministry of Health supporting us, and what are the current scenario of the clinical trials. So we have one very good slide. So we used to pitch the slide like DRAP approved these so many sites in Pakistan to conduct clinical studies as per the GCP guideline, and we used to share the BioStudy Rule 2018. I found there are so many questions here that the listener want to know like how to apply for clinical trials. So the guidelines is available in the website of Ministry of Health, DRAP. Plus the DRAP is directly dealing all the queries like through emails, through calls. So they are guiding very well how to apply the clinical trial. Like there is the process, like first go for the IRB approval within the hospital, then national bioethics approval, and then along with these two approvals, we can apply to the DRAP. And the second thing is like there are some questions people used to ask me like how we can develop sites. So it's a very simple answer. कहते हैं कि जब तक इंसान खुद को बदलना ना चाहे जब तक तो कोई भी कुछ नहीं कर सकता, जब तक इंसान को खुद बदलना पड़ेगा तकदीर बदलने के लिए. So we are trying to motivate sites like to cope up the area of development. Like there are very narrow margin. The site can easily selected by a US client for the clinical trial study, the multi-center studies. So we are working some hospital. We cannot disclose their name due to confidentiality, but we are working some of the sites. Only those sites, those has been approved by the DRAP. So still we found some some technical issues with them, just to motivate them how to cope up, and we are supporting them. Like these are the minor requirements, so just to fulfill out, and you can proceed. The second questions the people used to ask are like how we can train them. So IQ is not a training institute, but once the site has been selected by a sponsor, so IQVIA set a program by the by its regional quality managers from Singapore and from UK and Canada. And these quality specialists used to give the trainings before initiating any trials in Pakistan, like how we manage the documentations, how we make sure the quality of the study, and how we want to check all the variables in terms of EDC data collection. And the most important thing that what IQVIA emphasizes is adverse event reporting or serious adverse event reporting. So as I second Dr. Rashid Saab, like we have to be trained on like how we collect the information of adverse event. Even though there are some misconception of sites, like they are not considering some of the events as adverse events. So we cleared them, like try to all the information as a adverse event, and just inform your Ministry of Health and your IRB. So by this way, we are gaining their confidence, like we are not hiding anything, even though it's a major or minor. We just want to be transparent in terms of clinical trial data collection. We want to be on board IRBs, NBC, and the DRAP on same platform. Like whatever we receive, we used to share with them. And I'm feel very lucky that DRAP and IRB are responding on very short notice. And if they have any questions, so they can directly approach to the investigator and they can sort it out. And thank you, Dr. Rashid Saab. You have announced so many good news with us. So we have some projects in pipeline, and we are trying to bring those projects in Pakistan. Those are already initiated in US, Canada, and Europe, and other developed countries. So just to gain the confidence of Pakistani people that we are not treating them like a guinea pig, because some of the institute, even though we have a DRAB, we have a GCP guideline, all the things, we have some local CROs, those are working very well in terms of training and development of infrastructure here in Pakistan. Because without any resources, we cannot do anything. So I must appreciate the local CRO. Those are running clinical trial training programs just to motivate and create awareness in the community, like what are the requirement of the clinical trial. It's not a rocket science. We just have to follow the protocols and the guideline what have been nominated by the DRAB and GCP. So there are again some myths, like we are not a guinea pig for your trial. So we are not a guinea pig. Like we have some argument regarding the placebo control study. So placebo control study is designed by FDA, not by us. It's an FDA requirement. Why are not treating them like why we are treating us like a strange, like, so if we involve in placebo control study, so we are also securing a patient who is involved in like active ingredient, and we are also securing patient in placebo control, because if are in placebo control, he is secure if the patient got any serious when those are on the active. So there are some things are still missing and gap. So thank you very much, all of the panelists and the APPNA team. You are doing very well and great job. We are available for your support. We are available for anyone. If anyone want to contact, I shared my email address as well. So we are here to support you. And if you have any questions, so I'm here, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much, Dr. Danfati.
Thank you. So let's go towards some questions and further comments from our additional panelists, our APPNA committee chairs, and then also from the attendees. If you have a question or comment, please raise your hand. I'll try to get to you and give you the microphone if we have some time. Let me start with a couple of questions from Dr. Abdul Rashid Saab, taking advantage of his presence. And then maybe also tie in with Dr. Amanullah with the same question afterwards. One of the thought that have been repeatedly coming to my mind over the last 2 months as I listen to many of these presentations is that there still seems to be a general lack of information or awareness among the people in Pakistan, and I wondered and I wanted your comment on this, that What has happened, for example, in North America, is that they have created platforms to display as much information as possible. So we have, for example, a dashboard to display all the adverse events reported by FDA. So one single site, you can go, you can put a drug name, you can search, and you can see, okay, what adverse events have been reported and are being reviewed at, even the ones that have not been finalized but are just reported. As soon as it's reported, it's there, and then it's under investigation, and then the final conclusion is posted afterwards on it. Similarly, there is this website called clinicaltrials.gov that we all use, even in Pakistan, where you can go and see, okay, what trials are being submitted, what are approved, where the things are, what is the future one, what are the sites that are involved in these trials. So there seems to be a general lack of information. It's like a black box where the information sits in Pakistan, and that creates just either a lack of interest or lack of next steps, or could there be a time in future where we can have some similar dashboards that we could go and look at, or is it something that will be something have to be done from an academic center and will on a voluntary basis, like clinicaltrials.gov is not a government mandate, it's a private website, and just a voluntary basis, voluntary reporting, or what has this question been thought about before, and what kind of challenges we have faced with something like that? Ji sir.
Thank you very much, Danishji Saab. Very good question. I would like to answer. We are in infancy regarding trials. We have just started at the end of 2019. After that, the COVID started, and we are doing all the things and all the medicine. As vaccine solution is concerned, all approved sites, they are
I think we're having problem with some network and connection.
I was mentioning that you can see the clinical trial sites on the website, that is bra.gov.pk. The revision of you can see our list which is approved. Yes, those lists, those applications which are under process, we have not. The first, for approval of the clinical study, we have two steps, and the
So I think we're having trouble with the network with Dr. Rashid. We'll try to get his input maybe some other way. And I think he mentioned there is a website where all the approved clinical sites are listed. And then there is a website where all the approved clinical studies are listed.
Yes, I'm listening. The first step is the approval of the clinical. We visit the second step is the application of the clinical study. So the main step is that the IRB approval must be given. And the second step is there must be approval from the clinical National Biotest Committee. These are the mandatory, and also the capacity of the investigator that they can conduct the relevant study. The principal investigator, they give the presentation to the clinical study committee and give all the questions, all the queries submitted by the committee. The applicant satisfied to all the members, and if they are satisfied, if they meet all the requirement, then clinical study is approved. If all the documents are completed and IRB approval and bioethics committee is approved, then we conduct a meeting within 15 to 30 days. So we can give within one month, if application is complete, we can give the approval within 15 to 30 days, which is very short period of time, as per my opinion is concerned. As far as clinical trials.gov is concerned, before each before preparing a software and upload all the clinical trials which are approved by the clinical study, we have adopted clinical trial, and just after we have started just now. In the next week, in see that all approved clinical studies and sites also you will see on a clinical trial site of the American site, which is also used throughout the world. So I tell you one thing. I want to explain to all the members. Please, Pakistan now is the best country, a very good country where clinical study can be conducted. We have started for phase 1 clinical trials. We have started for phase 2 clinical trials. We have started for phase 3 clinical trials. When application is complete, either it's a multicenter, we are working on a war footing basis. In this week, on Thursday, I was in Peshawar, Rahman Medical Center. We approved that one, and on next week on Thursday we. And Thursday and Friday, I'm going to Karachi to visit for the 3 sites. And then next week, I will go to the Multan. Then after that week, I will go to the Lahore. So every week, we are conducting inspections without any delay. And in committee for inspection team, we have 1 clinician, director. He goes and they participate in the clinical inspections, and after their satisfaction, we have the vice chancellor, we have the retired brigadier, we have the pharmacy professor of pharmacy. So very experienced. 2%. They also the members of the clinical study committee, and also they are members of the national bioethics committee. They have the active participation in both sides. So I will request all the participants, either in America or any other country, if you are working in any clinical centers, I request you, because we need the clinical trials not only on also in phase 1 and phase 2 studies, and also we want to conduct research work with your collaboration on pharmacovigilance and also on antimicrobial resistance. We want to conduct giant collaborative research work on antimicrobial resistance. Your clinical trial center, your university, your research and development institute can jointly work with any university, any R&D institution of Pakistan, any research centers, and we can also request to the Fleming Fund from MSRA for the giant collaborators on AMR. So this is my request, that please, if I will give you my email address, that is rashid@gmail.com. My name is RASHID, and my institution name is DRAP. So my email is rashid@gmail.com. Kindly, if you have any query, any question, very any other question?
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul-Rashid. That was very comprehensive and detailed information. I see that there were interest from comment from Dr. Babar, but before I invite him, Dr. Amanullah, do you want to add anything to it?
I think the only point I would like to add is that myself, we have experienced the efficiency of DRAP. They've been very efficient and they've been transparent. Information is available now. And we got ourselves registered through DRAP. They did visit us very frequently, the inspection team and everything. I think they are now very much into the game and they realize that all the stakeholders, I think they are waiting for DRAP to help them. So I think we have got information which is more transparent now than it was maybe 5-10 years back.
Dr. Babar?
Actually, some of my questions were answered by Abdul Rashid, so I actually don't have any more comments, but that was very useful. Thank you.
Dr. Zafar Hayat, you have your hand raised. Please go ahead and unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and make your question or comment.
Thank you, sir. I'm Professor Dr. Zafar Hayat. Now I'm retired from Khyber Medical College. I was the head of Department of Medicine, Director of Research and Development Cell to KMU, and Chairman Medical Education for a long time. Now I'm retired. I'm working to be a medical professor in medicine. My reservations are there. I think we should now have initial thinking. And I would suggest, rather it's my obsession, that if you are going to develop research, clinical research in Pakistan, it should become mandatory, an integral part of the mission statement of all the institutions, whether they are private-based or they are public-based. There is a differential sort of research development, I would say, to be very honest. Some of the private universities and the healthcare institutions, teaching institutions, research institutions, and of course, conducting international standard-based research. I appreciate that. But the public sector, I retired as head of a department, and I told you we were involved in developing research and development and public sector. But the faculty is usually very, docile towards it until it is put in their ACRs and in their annual confidential reports, which will go to their promotion to the next teaching status, like from assistant to associate and professor and onwards. Even they become professors, even then they should have not left even they get retired. I had three publications rather, after 8 years of retirement recently. So it is not that I'm boasting of myself, but because I am a research-oriented man. I have spent my whole time in teaching and research, and spent less time with the family and for my own financial development. I think we should not commercialize the research and healthcare practices in the country. We should be truthful to ourselves, to the God, and to the profession. And I would say that across the country, this research is very important. Without that, we never develop. We cannot compare, of course, to the centuries-old developed states like the United States of America, which you talk of, the UK. And of course, the very good governance there. Our governance is changing every 5 years, and there is a lot of, I'm not a politician, but I would say that I suffered a lot because of this changing governments from my very early student life to graduate life as a doctor, and then at a postgraduate. There is a lot of turmoil when the governments are not changing every now and then, and standardization is not equally. You can
Thank you, Professor Hayat.
You can only achieve national.
We move on just because of time constraint. We're already way over time. But kindly leave your email address. We'd love to connect with you and invite you into the research webinar series. Dr. Amanullah, I have a couple of questions for you about the research. One is, how do you see clinical trial market in Pakistan 5 years from now? And then a second question related to that is that what kind of resources do you bring when you are taking on a site in terms of investigator training, and if you run into investigators that have no prior trial experience, and how do you support developing the investigator capacity?
Okay, Dr. Danish, we are a new entrant in Pakistan into this area, only about 2 years into this field. First question, 5 years down the road, because number of CROs have been registered, a number of, IQVIA is a global CRO, but there are other multinational CRO also, which are our regional CROs, which are entering into Pakistan. So this is an area which is going to develop 5 years down the road. I see it as a huge business. I see it as a very big area in which Pakistan can make its presence felt. Everything is very much, I would say, as per the need of the sponsors, the need of the hour. We have, as I said, there are hospitals in Pakistan which are of global standards, they are world standards. I mean, besides the topic, I am always in favor of, I would say, medical tourism in Pakistan. That's one area, although it's besides the topic, but maybe if you can have a discussion on that later on, that will be very interesting, how the physician in Pakistan can join together with physicians outside of Pakistan and probably make it for the country a very good source of revenue and maybe a very good source of learning for all of us. Regarding the second question, that was about what we do. Munawwar, can you take this question? I will appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Yes, Dr. Danish, we have a very valid question. Actually, we face the same challenge here. So what we do, we invite a co-investigator along with the investigator, and the co-investigator.
Your voice broke off, Munawwar. Can you still hear us?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yes,
Sorry.
you can.
It's a load shedding in Pakistan. So we have faced the same challenge. So medical monitors within the IQVIA on the payrolls. So we used to connect them to the investigator, and they give them a brief training about the clinical trial plus GCP, and plus the team based in IQVIA, they used to give them training how to use the applications, what is being used going to be used in the trial, like how to work in EDC, the investigative information portal. So we have a very good detailed program with us. Whenever we onboard any study participant, either a study coordinator, study staff nurse, even the pharmacist, those are responsible to dispatch the investigative medicine to the patient. So we have a very dedicated program, and we have a checklist. Without going through all the trainings and the certificates, they are not eligible to initiate the study actually. So yes, you're right. We have a program for the investigator, those do not have the experience in clinical trials.
Wonderful.
Danish, I want to say one thing. One of the participants, he asked about the Center Research Fund.
Please, sir, go ahead.
I want to reply that one. It is very difficult to work in Pakistan. We are sitting in Islamabad and coordinating with all the 4 provinces, Islamabad, and then AJK and GP. We have to make a clinical research, we have to make an R&D committee, and we have to take 9 months. The provinces have taken 9 months just to nominate one person from their own province. So this is very difficult to get the nomination from provinces. They don't respond to Islamabad. So these are the practical problems. That's why we have make a list, and now we send to the Ministry of National Services Regulation and Coordination, and it will be sent to the federal government for approval. Or inshallah, within 1 to 2 months, we'll be able to constitute a R&D committee, and also I'm also the chairman of that committee. And then hopefully we advertise for applications. that will be submitted, and then we'll be able to grant some projects from the Central Research Funds. So we are, this is our priority. Inshallah, we'll be in a position to do and work on that project.
That's wonderful news. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul Rashid. So in the end, Dr. Amanullah Khan, Sahab, where can people reach out to you or your team if they are interested in participating in clinical trials, if they have some clinical trial and need help in bringing it to Pakistan, or they want to develop their site as a clinical site, whether it be a private institution, public institution, and want your help or coordination?
Dr. Danish, I can provide our email addresses. We are based in Karachi, but our email address definitely will help anyone outside Pakistan to get in touch with us. And let me tell you, to be very frank, we are very prompt in our reply, inshallah. So, and we are taking it as a mission to promote clinical trials in the country. So any query coming in from any part of the world, we do reply to it. We already have been able to convince some of our physicians outside Pakistan to play their role, and those who have not been approached, or we could not get in touch with them, I think we will provide them our contact. Moreover, if you can provide our email addresses, yourself and mine, to the group, that will be appreciated. And even our cell numbers, Munawar, that will be fine.
Sure, I provided our email addresses. I'll update the contact number as well.
Right, thanks.
Wonderful. So I think let's close the discussions here. We're about 90 minutes mark that we typically end up going to, but it is such an interesting topic. You can see there is so much passion about this. There is so many of us who are trying to promote this area and really bring in, it's needed for the patients, it's needed for developing the research culture in Pakistan. And really, I thank you all for doing so much work to bring the progress in Pakistan from the DRAP side, regulatory side, from the IQVIA side, from commercial side. This is really, really important pieces of the puzzle, and clinicians and academicians cannot do these things in silos. So thank you so much for your work, and thank you everyone for joining. We can stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.